If you thought that the waters were safe from idiots on the road, just know that they aren't, and there are still a lot of these people that are just as bad on boats. Welcome to another episode on the channel, and this time we'll be hitting the waters and taking a break from the roads to see just how much of a difference there is. Trust me, there isn't much. And without further ado, let us jump right into it. We're off to a rough start already, as this idiot probably never rode a jet ski before and still decided to do a backflip while it was moving. Big mistake, and a big bump on the head too.
How did you get, dumbass?
Someone left the motor running for too long at full throttle, and this resulted in the boat bursting out in flames. But not to worry, the local jet ski hero is already on the job and trying his best to extinguish it. This is another example of how not to ride a jet ski, especially if you have a passenger sitting behind you. This guy didn't know how to stop it and just simply rams into this concrete structure. These guys were having the time of their lives while being dragged behind a boat on this float. The boat pilot decided to make a quick turn followed by another one, which resulted in a very funny situation. This guy had one task: to go over this fallen tree. Instead of picking it up and putting it on the side, or maybe even not going there, he decided to go over it at 0.1 miles an hour and got stuck. Here's one idiot that decided to jump right in front of a moving boat. At first he managed to dodge it, but the boat eventually climbed on top of him and almost ran him over.
What the fuck? Watch out! Oh my God!
Now this is a festival that has no place for people who are bad at moving about in boats. One false move like these guys and it's paddles to the head and face if you're not careful. Moving a big, long boat in a narrow river is a very tricky thing to do, and here are two unfortunate ones that encountered one another in said place. The results were pretty imminent at this point, and both barges collided with each other. Just when the storm was at its peak, only then did this guy decide to park his jet ski and head home. Parking would have been fine if it wasn't for winds and waves punching at him at high speeds. A sailboat got stuck under a bridge due to its massive and tall mast. The mast was pretty anchored in there, so now this little tourist boat has turned into a rescue boat and is trying to pull it out. The captain of this ship dropped the anchor a little too late, and before it could lock in place, the ship is hurled into the harbor by the fast and powerful winds. People on the ship can do nothing but watch themselves collide with the wall. The idea here was to jump off the wave being created behind this boat with another boat. They came in full speed, but instead of jumping, the little boat got trapped, almost throwing one of them off board. Looks like someone fell asleep behind the wheel and is only awakened when the cameraman yells at them. At this point, there's nothing that could have been done, and luckily, the collision's not as violent as it could have been. Two yachts collide into one another as one pilot, who had tourists on board, had it parked in the middle of an entrance point, and the other probably didn't know how to maneuver a big boat. Everyone watches as their boat almost gets skewered. Passengers reported that the boat was struck by two strong waves, which caused it to rise briefly before falling back into the ocean. In the end, this caused the boat to capsize while traveling to an island in the Bahamas. A massive container ship carrying cargo managed to hit the cranes at this harbor when coming in for a stop. The pilot found it difficult to maneuver the boat into the harbor and forgot to slow down enough while approaching. With his tiny one-man boat, this guy thought he could conquer the sea, but in reality he couldn't even conquer a wave coming his way and ended up turning his boat over. In a scene of motor versus paddle, two boats collide with each other as the woman in the paddle boat had her face the opposite way and the one in the motorboat just didn't care at all even after seeing her to change her course. A modern-day pirate ship ended up hitting the bridge we see here when it got carried away by the waves. A pilot boat can be seen trying to help it, but at this point it was too late. Looks like these added TVs and lights, but not a rudder system or anchor. In a very stupid move, a sailboat pilot decided to make a very dumb move by coming in between a tugboat pulling a very big oil tanker. The sailboat gets stuck on the rope being used to tug the ship, and the tugboat operator takes everything in his hands to save the idiot's life. Some people don't really deserve boats, as you can see here. Both boats were coming in for a landing, but someone decided to be only feet away from the smaller boat, splashing the poor family with water. If one sailboat wasn't enough, watch as a lot of them are brought together in a small place. It's complete chaos as they struggle to dodge each other. Sadly, there was one boat these guys could not miss. These guys were doing their absolute best to go as fast as they possibly can, but as soon as one of them gets swung outwards, it is game over for their little adventure. This guy has a very narrow escape from an idiot operating a boat when he comes flying in right towards him, almost squishing the guy between the wall and the boat. Talk about being lucky, am I right? This old man came crashing into their boat. He probably wanted in on the fun and got too busy to remember he has to pilot a boat too. This man decided to propose to his girlfriend, and that too in the most riskiest of ways. However, it was he who caused the issue. The lady accidentally pushes on the gas and goes flying into the pier. It's not every day you see invisible people having a party on a pontoon. This runaway boat is being chased by these guys when the pilot probably fell off the pontoon while hitting the gas. If you thought military boats don't have accidents, witness the moment when a Royal Navy ship backs into another ship during an exercise and caused a pretty dent on their defense budget. I don't know if we should consider this as a fail or a win, because although he did make that neat jump, the underbelly of that already flimsy boat probably has some holes in it now, or is going to soon. These girls were awaiting a good day out on the waters and forgot to secure their motor in place. Now at least they can stay out in the water for as long as they want. These guys, on the other hand, had their plan prematurely come to an end when a big wave carried them over to shore against their will and slammed them against the rocks as well. Rule number 1 of rafting is probably to leave the pedals alone and secure them in when entering rocky currents like this, unless you want to get slammed in the face and off the boat by them. In Boston Harbor, a cruise ship carrying 300 kids on a school trip collides with sailboats. The Coast Guard reported that the boat lost power and required towing back. The one major flaw of having a bigger boat is that you can't really see what's ahead of you, and like this guy, might just end up scraping the side of your beautiful white yacht against another boat. Another party is literally crashed when a boat comes flying in towards them and even knocks a few people off their feet. Thankfully, nobody was hurt except for the party vibes. This family boating trip takes a literal wrong turn as well when the boat swings its back out and hits the base of the bridge it was passing under. Mom is going to be more furious than Dad himself. Here's another idiot who probably thought that driving a boat will be as easy as driving a car, but got swept away by the waves as they came along. Let's just hope the party that was going on was not brought to a stop. When the wind picks up, even the big guys can't stay safe from it, and when you don't deploy your anchor on time, this is what you end up with instead.
This is unbelievable.
Here is the aftermath of someone who just lost their boat after forgetting to secure it down for the upcoming storms. The idea here was to beach the boats up on this soft sand and not damage it while doing so. However, the idiot turned the boat right as he made shore and flipped the whole thing over. Someone accidentally left their boat on and with the gas to the max, and now the runaway boat is causing havoc upon everyone else, and this yacht becomes its first victim, after which it crashes into the pier. The pilot of this yacht left the engine on max, and it was already too late to do anything, and all they could do was brace themselves for a collision with the docks. Even dropping the anchor was not enough at this point. With so many people sitting in front of him, of course the pilot can't see anything that's in front of him and ran straight into another boat, creating the perfect cutoff for this video. Arrogance can get the best of anyone, and these two pilots probably knew they were going to intercept one another, but still went ahead to see who gave way first. And nobody did. Drinking and driving is a thing which must be universally avoided, and being on a boat does not make it any better whatsoever. These guys learned that the hard way and the right way. Riding the waves on a surfboard is nice, but trying to do that on a jet ski is just plain stupid, and this guy tried doing just that before being knocked off the vehicle and into the water.
Caralho! Ah!
Sometimes you just can't understand what the other person is thinking before pulling a stupid move like this. The restrictions are always there because of people like these. Here's another pair of sailboat enthusiasts that are trying to make their boat go straight until one of them falls into the water, oversetting the entire balance and sinking the boat. Not only are these things tricky to handle, sometimes they can really mess you up too if you're not careful around these masts swinging at you like Mike Tyson. Racing in these boats is fun and all until one of them decides to overtake the other, not from the left or the right, but from literally riding on top of the other person. There's no recovering from that one. Even when you're not using your boat, there will always be a fear of getting your boat mangled up by people like this guy who came in full speed to park their boat. Well, at least he made a spot if he couldn't find one, I guess. These guys are anchored in place and the other boat is slowly but surely coming right up to them. Even after multiple warnings, they still ignore it and have a small crash, which was completely avoidable. This is one of those tell me you're an idiot with a boat without actually telling me you're an idiot with a boat sort of situations. At this point, everyone knows that thing is no longer waterworthy. Here's another runaway boat that seems to have a mind of its own. The boat is left on full throttle and causes chaos, luckily not around people, and finally manages to beach itself on top of some rocks. There are stupid people and then there are evil people. This guy in the boat here is probably both, as he makes sure to leave behind a wave big enough to rock all the boats on the docks. People tell this man to go faster if he wants to beach his boat onto the shore, but he keeps slowing down for some reason and barely makes it out of the water before getting beached prematurely. The last thing you would want to do is cut ahead of a huge tanker like this, which can't even slow down fast enough if they even wanted to. This guy made that same mistake and caused the tanker to crash into his small boat. This man was going out to fish in the open ocean, but his plan went kaput when a wave ended up throwing his boat around and he couldn't even make it past the shoreline. The last thing you'd want to do is be standing outside in the open of a boat when getting hit by a huge wave. If you look close enough, you might see someone showing the reason I'm saying this. This boat was flying more than gliding over the water, and that didn't stop the pilot from speeding until the worst actually happened. If you ever wondered why your shipment never got to you, just know that it might be sleeping with the fishes forever now because of incidents like these. This cruise ship came in a little too fast into the docks for its own good and ended up crashing into one of the cranes, toppling it to the ground. These guys wanted to do a wheelie on their boat, and even though it was a valiant attempt, they overcooked it and went into the water at an astonishing 90-degree angle. Swamps are not a good place to be going so fast, as you never know when you could hit a log or even a piece of submerged land. The same happened to these guys, and the lady went flying off the boat. Imagine being a passenger on top of this ferry as it slowly glides its way over to the rocks. You know it's not going to stop, and at this point everyone just braces for the collision, and collide it does. Due to the collision of the container ship YM Witness during its attempt to dock at Avaport Port in Turkey, 4 cranes operating there were toppled as a result, and that must have cost millions. Raft launching is one of the best parts of the whole experience, and these guys had the very first part of their rafting adventure ruined when they couldn't even make it into the water. God knows what was going on inside the head of this boat's pilot when he came full speed into this oil tanker, hitting it on its side. There are plenty of ways to launch a boat into the water, and this group of people decided to go for the dumbest way of them all. They were nowhere near the deep water at all. At this point, I believe people should really just give up on sailboats, because even with a team this big, they still managed to mess things up and almost sink into the waters. In an act of bravery and tomfoolery combined, this jet ski rider thought it would be a great idea to go right up to this cargo ship and touch it. But when it decided to touch him back, that was when regret set in for this guy. When moving a boat onto a trailer, make sure the trailer is actually ranked for the weight of the boat and not based on the gut feeling of Uncle Bob who says it can take it. Here's someone who probably bought their boat license off of AliExpress or eBay for $2. Who on earth would crash into a bridge that's been there for years? Everything was going fine until these guys decided to drive in shallow waters without even checking them before going full speed, and now they need to be rescued. The next time you need to get your boat towed, just go for the more professional service, even if it's more expensive. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like this person. These guys hadn't even left the dock before they ended up sinking their boat, and I guess shallower water is better than deeper water. These guys were all set to hit the waters, but they were missing one crucial thing, which was to put the motor down into the water so they could actually move. After losing all control of the ferry, everyone was ordered to make haste and jump off the boat because the captain messed everything up. If you're also a jet ski enthusiast, just make sure to give the bigger boats a clear room to move and not be a hero trying to get as close as possible.